but we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, this is the Worden Avenue Traffic Calming Meeting number 2. On behalf of the city of Ann Arbor, just like thank you for joining us. Looks like as of right now, we've got 4 people joining us. This is one of the 2 opportunities that we have to directly engage with everyone. Everybody traffic calming project. This project relies very heavily on resident feedback, so participation is not only appreciated but strongly encouraged. We did, like I said, we didn't get a chance to complete the demographic poll that we sent just a moment ago. I'll relaunch it at the end of the meeting. We get some of the introductory slides out of the way. My name is Kristen Bowen. I'll be presenting tonight. I work for Trim. It's the engineering firm based here in Southeast Michigan. The traffic calming team for Worden Avenue is a partnership between the city of Ann Arbor and Trim. We've been contracted by the city to assist with their traffic calming projects. So this includes the design work, project management, hosting these meetings, sending out invitations to everyone. On the Trim side, there's myself, Jackson Danner, JB, Lori Pollock, Chris Wall. There are like our information's up there, just if you see our names or the Trim logo throughout the project, just know that we're working with the city. Oh no, one's here. Give me one moment. Yeah, I noticed that the sound quality is very bad. So. Okay, let's try this again. Is the audio any better? Get a couple. Okay, how about now? It's
okay. Are we getting? Oh, okay, better. This is better. I'm hoping if I can get maybe another confirmation in there. Yay. Okay. I'm so sorry. That's not usually the case. I guess there's a first for everything. Okay, let's do this again. My name's Christy Thullen. I work for Trim. Trim is an engineering firm based here in Southeast Michigan. We're partnered with the city of Ann Arbor to work on these traffic calming projects. So the city has contracted us to assist. This includes the design work, project management, hosting these public meetings, sending out communications. Just on the Trim side, we've got myself, Jackson or JD Danner, Lori Pollock, Chris Wall. So that's just to, hopefully if you see our names on anything or see the Wade Trim logo throughout the next month or so, just know that we're working on behalf of the city of Ann Arbor. And then naturally with the partnership, we're working with the Ann Arbor city staff. So there are, you know, different staff members, different departments that we're communicating with, but primarily we've been working with Andrea, Chris, and Cynthia for Worden Avenue. And then this is our meeting agenda for tonight. Most of tonight's time is just going to be dedicated to the preliminary plan where we will review and discuss each of the devices that are being proposed. But I've got a couple more introductory slides to go through. If you're on your computer or if you're using the app from your phone, there's going to be a couple ways of asking questions and providing feedback. So there's a raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That'll just notify me that you'd like to speak. You can also lower your hand using the same button. I will be giving you the ability to unmute yourself and speak. So I'll just recognize you either by your name, whatever you've logged on with. I don't see anyone who's joining by phone, so I won't go over those directions for the sake of time. You'll also be able to type a question or comment out using the Q&A button. So there's a chat box that'll pop up if you hit the button that's also at the bottom of your screen. You'll be able to type, press submit, or press send to submit your message. If you would like to give feedback or questions anonymously, just make sure you check the box that's in the text box that pops up. And additionally, there will be a couple points throughout the presentation where we'll do some polling just to get some feedback from everyone. When I launch the poll, it'll just automatically pop up for you again if you're on your computer on the app. You'll be able to answer, press submit. I will close the poll when we've got 100% participation, or at least as close to as possible. I'll be able to share the results with everyone, so those will also pop up automatically for you. You can either close them out yourself, or once we're ready to move on, I will close them out for everyone and get on to the next slide. Again, if there were anyone who is calling in by phone, there would be a way for you to participate in polling. Just a disclaimer that it wouldn't be anonymous the way it is with the app or on your desktop. And we've gotten good feedback with the technical difficulties, so I'm not worried about the commenting feature, but I'll go ahead and just launch a test poll for the project area. This question is just, do you live in the project area? And as a reminder, this is Worden Avenue between Jackson Avenue and Dexter Avenue. So please take a moment to answer that question. If you're having any, running into any issues with the polling, please either raise your hand or use the Q&A. And I'll also add, this is a public meeting, so it's perfectly fine if you don't live in the project area and are just, just outside or just interested in the process. Don't be shy about answering or participating if you're not in the project area. But I've got about 80%, so I've got a couple attendees who haven't responded. I'll just leave it up here for another moment. Okay, I'll go ahead and close it. I didn't get 100% participation. I'm hoping if you did not get to answer the polling question, it's not due to running into any difficulties. But you should be able to see the results here. Looks like basically everyone is part of the project area, so hopefully you can see those as well. I'll stop sharing and then we'll move on. Well, this is the last introductory slide. This is just Zoom etiquette. During the presentation, especially during feedback from your neighbors, your fellow community members, just please keep these norms in mind. Start on time so we can end on time. Raise your hand to be recognized to talk. There will just be one speaker at a time. If you are speaking, please move to a quiet area. Try to silence any background noises when you're speaking. Make sure you're speaking loud and clear so everyone can hear you. That goes for myself too. If we run into some more audio issues, if you're having difficulty hearing me, please let me know so I can address that as soon as possible. Everyone's going to be provided a chance to speak before we have any repeat speakers being recognized. Please be respectful of other ideas and perspectives. Avoid finger pointing. Make sure that we're keeping in perspective fact versus opinion. And then lastly, any inappropriate written and/or verbal comment or language, including personal attacks and accusations, will result in the attendee being removed from the meeting. If there's anything I've missed, if there's anything else that you feel is you think is important to share before we get started, I'll pause here. You can use the Q&A, use the raise hand feature. Not seeing anything, and I will add, if there are long delays, long pauses on my end, it's just to avoid any lagging between me flipping screens or switching between slides. I just try to give like an extra pause. So I apologize if there are some lengthy moments of silence, but it's usually me making sure that the audio is caught up with the presentation. So we'll move on. This is the preliminary plan on the screen here. This was marked in the streets. You should hopefully have all received the mailing packet that had the self-guided tour and the cover letter, keeping you up to date on where we are at with the project. During meeting number 1, we had a lot of interest in adding a curb extension at the Jackson Place intersection and also moving the speed hump that is towards the end of Dexter Avenue farther up the hill, so it's closer to the intersection. So between what you're seeing on the screen here, what you've hopefully had the chance to see and walk around Worden to take a look at, this is what we're currently looking at to propose to City Council. So I will reshare device information, just like background information on the devices that we're using in the next couple slides, and then we'll go and look at each of the devices and discuss any additional changes or any feedback that we have that we want to share. And I can go back to this aerial view once we get to this discussion if we needed. So one of the 2 different traffic calming devices that we're looking at with this project, first one is speed humps. So on the left here is a typical speed hump diagram. On the right, this photo is from Wells Street. As a refresher, speed humps are typically 12 feet in length. At the most, they're 3 inches high. It's a parabolic shape. So at the maximum height is 3 inches. They extend the full width of the street except for the gutter, which you'll see here in the diagram. This is the gutter, and then in the example photo, the gutter is right here. So the speed hump avoids that just so it doesn't interrupt with any drainage or movement of stormwater. Studies have found benefits of speed hump treatments may include speed reduction, traffic volume reduction, as well as crash reduction. A couple other things to mention is that maximum height that the city has set, that is determined with the ease of bike usage and bike safety in mind. These speed humps are meant to just be felt as an awareness as you're driving over them, not as a wall for you to potentially damage your vehicle on or your bike as you're riding. If previously permitted, vehicles can park on the speed humps. Trash cans can be placed on the speed humps as well if necessary, so there's no need to worry about, removal or removal of street parking or removal of ability to put cans out on the street. And then the other device that we're looking at with this plan is a curb extension. There are a couple different ways to use curb extensions. We're looking at a bump out that's similar to this here in the diagram, the typical diagram. And then this photo is from Granger Avenue. And that also has a design that's at an intersection at the crosswalk. So curb extensions, they're just an extension of the curb line. They both physically and visually tighten the corridor, so it narrows the street width by a little bit. These things you can think about with curb extension is that they do require additional drainage consideration. There's restrictions and design guidance we have to keep in mind with the fire department for emergency vehicles to get around corners. These can result in the loss of on-street parking, although when it's at an intersection like what we're proposing at Jackson Place, that's not as big of an issue just because there's typically not any on-street parking permitted at the intersection anyway. But another thing to consider is that they may create like debris collection around the device, so they may require a bit more maintenance. But in general, curb extensions, when they're applied at the intersection or applied where there's an existing crosswalk, they can shorten the pedestrian crossing distance, improve pedestrian visibility, help pedestrians or whoever's using the crosswalk see any oncoming traffic, especially when you do have on-street parking. Sometimes it can be difficult, especially for anyone who's at a lower height, to see around on-street parking, to see traffic coming without walking into the middle of the street. So again, I'll pause here. If there are any general questions about the devices, just general questions or comments about speed humps or curb extensions, we can go over that now. Otherwise, we'll just move on to looking at each of the devices specific to this project. I do see I've got a hand raised from, just kidding. I will move on then. So this next section, we'll look at the device in each device in the proposed plan, and then we'll have a polling question for each one just to see how we're feeling about it still. So device 1, this is a curb extension at the northeast corner of Worden Avenue and Jackson Place. So there is an existing crosswalk here. So we're proposing to put a curb extension to not only shorten that distance, but also tighten the corridor here for vehicles coming. Again, with curb extensions, there are drainage considerations that we have to look into. With this one, I don't think it'll be too difficult just because there's a lot of good slope already. The design does have to ensure that emergency vehicles can safely turn around them and navigate around them. There's a possibility that they will require additional maintenance, just with the ability for debris to collect, like, you know, specifically in this little section here. But yeah, this was proposed during meeting 1 as an additional device. And when we, you know, went out and just double checked that drainage consideration and, you know, the width requirements, we were able to determine that, you know, a curb extension was feasible here. And especially as the bus stops are nearby on Jackson, this may help people who are accessing those or just trying to cross in general. I do see I've got a hand raised from Tamara. You can go ahead and unmute and share.
Hi, Christy. This is Tammy Cutter. I live at this end of the street, and I have several questions about this curb extension.
Okay.
In the paperwork you sent us and everything I read and listened to, there's no documentation about it, whether or not it slows traffic or cuts down on the volume where the speed humps both ends, decrease speed 20 to 25% and traffic volume by 18%. And I guess one of the reasons I'm concerned is it's really difficult to get onto Jackson Avenue from Worden. And if we make this narrower, it's great for pedestrians, but getting off our street, is that going to make it even more difficult? Because if it's a visual, even if we who live on the street know that you can have a car in each direction, if I'm turning onto Worden, it's going to look like it's only like one car length, you know, width, and then it's going to be even harder to get off our street. Have you found that to be the case anywhere else? Because Jackson is so busy and I can't get into town, you know, without a 5-minute wait as it is sometimes. And then the other question is, if I remember in all the reading, the person who lives by the device is then going to be responsible for its upkeep.
So the maintenance of the maintenance of the curb itself, I mean, it would basically be similar to how, if you're maintaining this stretch in front of your property, it would just, this will be grass, well, I mean, except for the sidewalk ramp. It would just be, if there's any extra grass, it'd be considered the same thing as maintenance. But in like maintaining if there's debris that piles up in the street in front of your property here, the city can always be made aware of the need for maintenance there.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't overtaxing whoever, wherever we decide to put this.
Right. As far as the traffic, there is still, so it does still leave at the minimum 20 feet of roadway here. So this, I mean, I apologize because these aren't like perfect scale drawings. They're just meant to be like general sketches. So this width here of roadway that is available, that is still at the minimum 20 feet for vehicles to travel. The visual, it does physically reduce the corridor. I believe right now the road is about like 30 some feet, but that's also taking into account that on-street parking is available. Turning off of Worden onto Jackson, I wouldn't say that this curb extension would add any difficulty, especially as you've got like a, that's not the main approach to Jackson. It's the approach to Jackson Place. If we were looking at putting a curb extension somewhere here, that would definitely need more consideration given how busy Jackson might be.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm going through the mental checklist of the questions that you brought up. As far as the numbers, like the specific statistics, even though that are mentioned in the package, even with the speed humps, I would not hang a hat on those numbers just because we're looking at such a small area. Like those numbers are based on like long stretches of corridor. We know that, based on the number of studies that there have been using these devices, we know that speed humps primarily address speeding and additionally, like, as a trickle down effect, affect the traffic volume, therefore the traffic crash rate. With the curb extensions, I would say that these are more geared towards being visual reminders to vehicles. So it's, you're driving and you see, it looks like, well, you see that the roadway narrows a bit. So instinctively, you're more cautious, especially with single street applications. It's hard to put numbers on any of these devices in terms of like percentage of reductions, but the combined benefit of being a visual warning to drivers, and then giving pedestrians that padded safety for visibility, we know that curb extensions can be beneficial.
Okay. And will our entire street then be lined or marked, like in the picture with bike lanes? Because we don't currently have any of that.
Oh, no, sorry. That's just this. Are you referring to this line here, this white line on the drawing?
No, in the pictures that you sent us and, when we went and visited.
Oh, here?
Those, yeah, exactly. They have bike lanes, dotted lines and solid lines and.
No, sorry. No, those won't be included. That's just, this photo is Granger and they had, oh gosh, Granger's had a multitude of changes, but no, those will not be part of the curb extension. The only pavement markings that are included in traffic calming are ones that are part of the device. So like if we were to do like a raised crosswalk, the crosswalk would then be restriped because they're changing the existing crosswalk, so they have to redo those pavement markings. With speed humps, these chevron markings here, those are included. Those would be the only pavement markings that we would be doing. These, I apologize, these bike lanes and symbols here would not be part of this installation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Were there any questions or any other feedback on the curb extension? We'll go ahead and launch the poll for this device. So this is just asking, would you, do you support this device, this curb extension, being installed in this location? Again, if you have more feedback you want to share or a question, I'll, feel free to utilize the Q&A and raise your hand while we're getting some of the answers in. And also, you know, if you want to send anything anonymously, you can do that as well with the Q&A box. Okay, got 100% participation. So you'll be able to see the results. Looks like majority were in support of this. Looks like there's some what's the word I want to use? Some disagreement or objection to this device. If there's more information that you want to provide, either during the meeting or afterwards, I'll have my contact information up there and you can share that. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next device. And so the next device is a speed hump. This one's just a little ways up Worden near 108 and 109 Worden Avenue. As a reminder, speed humps can help address speeding, high traffic volumes, crash rates. Those are all have been shown to have reductions. If the speed hump is installed, it would be the entire width of the street except for the gutters. Those pavement markings that you see on the device, those would also be included. Speed humps also have required warning signs that would be installed as well. Some of the considerations are you can still have on-street parking, you can still place trash cans or recycling bins on the curb or on the street. It's got a maximum height of 3 inches. That's just that's the city's standard. I know there are examples throughout the city that were installed prior to this current standard, but 3 inches is the maximum height that they're installing right now. That's been determined to be safe for vehicles, safe for bicycles. If there's any feedback that anyone wants to share or any questions that anyone might have, the next slide is all, you know, is basically a repeat of this, but feel free to share. I will share that there was some feedback emailed to me after all the mailings went out. So there is someone that is in opposition of the speed humps in general. I don't know if there's any more dialogue that I can share or perspective, anything that I can share from my perspective to maybe bring some more understanding. I do see there's a hand raised. Markel, you can go ahead and unmute if you'd like and share.
Thanks. This is a unrelated question to that last comment. You mentioned signage. I noticed over on Fairview Longman, there isn't any signage. So I'm just curious if there's going to be signage on Worden and what specifically that'll say and where it is, etc.
Yeah, that's similar to the comment that just came in the Q&A. So I can provide it in the discussion summary and get like a more specific answer, but with the speed humps, there is it's called a warning sign. It's any of the signs that are in that yellow color. Those are considered warning signs it's a Michigan or federal standard. But it would just say speed humps. Sometimes there are ones in advance that state that speed hump, this is a speed hump zone. Other times there are ones that are just posted at the speed hump itself to show you, you know, as you're coming ahead where it is exactly. Which of the two, or if the city uses both, I can't recall offhand, but I can find an answer out and share that in the discussion summary following the meeting. But that would be the only of those two options, or of those two different signs, those would be what they would install.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. And then Jason, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
I am Mark Kell's husband, but at work. I think just to clarify, I the details of what exactly the sign looks like is I don't think that matters too much to me or to us. It's just that it'd be nice if there were a sign and the speed bumps in the next street over have no associated signs. So I think the question is will there be a sign?
Yes, there.
Even
there will be.
though there apparently it's not universal that there's signs for speed bumps.
Yeah, and I don't know, Longman, I know that's an earlier project. I don't know what iteration of the traffic calming program that was completed and constructed. I will bring that up with the city to make them aware, and if there's any specific reasoning why there wasn't signing installed, I'll make sure to include that in the discussion. But as the warning signing is required and is part of that device. So as far as my knowledge, there will be signing with these speed humps.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll make sure to clarify and share with that with the, getting ahead of myself a little bit, but the discussion summary, that's just, it'll show like a summary of who signed on to the meeting, what the results of the polling were, and give answer or direction to any of the questions or comments that are brought up that I don't have an answer to, like on the spot. So this is definitely one of those. But unless, Jason, there was anything else you had to add, I see another hand raised. John, you can go ahead and unmute.
Christy, this is Victor at 118 Worden. I have a couple questions to piggyback off Markel and Jason, I guess. Are you saying that the signage that goes up when the speed humps go up is permanent and stays up, or do the signs go up just on a temporary basis to alert people that the speed humps have been added?
They'd be permanent signing.
Okay, and I do think, and I'm not positive, but I'm nearly certain Grandview just got these speed humps in the last like 6 to 8 weeks they were completed, and I do think there are signs there. There may just be flags on the side, but I thought there was signage on Grandview.
Okay, yeah, Grandview's a recent project.
Yeah.
The little flags that are attached there, those are typically used when it's a new sign, just to alert people that, hey, this is a new sign you might not have noticed before.
Yep.
So
Okay,
the flags would, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say thank you, but go ahead.
You're welcome. So I was just going to say that like the flags are likely temporary, but the sign itself is permanent.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't see any other comments or hands raised. I'll go ahead and launch the poll for this one. If there's anything else that comes to mind, feel free to share while we get the answers in for the polling. While I make a note to address the signing questions. Okay, we've got, oh, John, I see your hands still raised. I don't know if you had something else that you wanted to add. If so, you can unmute and share. But I did get.
It's Victor again.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Victor.
That's okay. No, but it's under John's name. We're both here. I did have a clarification from you. So on that first poll, we were at like 89%. Can you remind us? Does it have to be 100% for these, or is it 80%? And what do you need for these to be passed ultimately?
Oh, okay. So the polling during this meeting isn't like concrete decision making. This is just so we have like, this we can show if once we get to the end of the project, we can show that, you know, this is the feedback that we've gotten. This is the input that we've had. And so the polling today is not like a binding vote on anything.
Is there a number you need though at the end of the day, or how does that work?
At the meeting, no, but in the final.
To finally, and like for this project to be approved in the end.
Oh, yeah, yes. I'll go over it
Okay.
at towards the end, but yeah, there is a requirement for this to, once this gets finalized and the final poll goes out to everyone, there is a requirement. It's more than 50% of whoever is participating in the poll. And I'll go over in more detail after this this next slide, I think it is. But yes, there is a requirement for this to, once we wrap up the public engagement, for this to move on to be presented to City Council.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll share the results here. For this one, we did have 100% participation. Right now I've got, I show 9 attendees in the meeting right now, or 9 persons logged on. Looks like we're all in support of device 2 speed hump. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. This next one is just device 3, another speed hump. This is near 122, 123 Worden. So this one here was moved from originally, I believe we were proposing it somewhere around here, just one house over. There was a lot of discussion and input at the first meeting about visibility with the speed hump, and wanting to make sure that anyone who's coming from Dexter isn't, you know, completely blindsided by the speed hump, and who can see it as they're, you know, either coming from either way. So we took another look at this, and, you know, we were able to move it farther up Dexter. We did not want to move it any closer to the intersection or any higher up on the hill, because, you know, the more we put it, the closer we put it to like the crest of the hill, the less that it's doing in terms of working as a speed deterrent. So we were able to move it up. It's, you know, it's one house over. But again, as we discussed with the signing, in combination with the signing and the pavement markings, we're hoping that addresses any concern with visibility. I'll go ahead and just launch the poll. You know, the side notes on speed humps, that's the same as the previous slide. If there's any other feedback, or if there's anything you feel wasn't addressed with moving this, feel, you know, we can have more discussion on this. Let's see if I have any other notes that I needed to bring up, because I did have a couple. I know I did get a voicemail from someone who was, I'll just share that I did get a voicemail from another resident who's in support of the devices, just kind of made a blanket statement about being in support of them. And again, there was some feedback. Let's see. Was some feedback that the person who reached out was not in support of the speed humps, specifically this middle one. Unfortunately, there's no, there was a suggestion to move it, but with the way we've got the curb extension and the other speed hump, there really wasn't much room for us to move this one around. I apologize, I should have brought this up in the last slide, but with the utilities that are over here, and let's see if they're shown. With the utilities over here and being able to maintain a somewhat even distance between the other devices, there's really not much room for this one to move. And then we wouldn't want to remove this device because we want to maintain, we want to at least we want to have more than one speed hump. That's, the more speed humps there are used in a series, the more effective they can be and the more that they reduce the odds of people trying to speed between speed humps. That's why we have general spacing in mind. Also, we want to make sure that we're placing these devices where it's most likely that we'll see speeding, and that tends to be when we've got the more flat, open stretches of roadway. But I did want to share that there was, feedback against that speed hump in particular. But if there's any other comment anyone wants to share, the next couple slides are just kind of a wrap up. So, we definitely have time to discuss these, but I'll share the results from device 3, the speed hump near Dexter. So of the attendees in the room, we've got full support for that one. And so we just had the 3 devices. This is what we're looking at for the rest of the public engagement steps. So after today's meeting, I will post the presentation and a recording of tonight's presentation to the project website. That's usually done in a week or so. And there will also be a summary, like I said, the meeting summary that has like results of the polling that we did, the attendance list, and it'll also have information on the signing. I'll make sure to get some answers on, whether or not this would be permanent signing, which would be permanent signing as far as I'm aware, but I can confirm it in that discussion summary. I'll also just reach out and see if there's an answer on why there is not signing on Longman, if there's specific reason, or if that was a random case, or if there's just a delay in the signing. It's good to bring it to their attention so they can hopefully address it if it needs to be. Also, just I can confirm if they're going to be using the signing that's at the speed hump, and whether or not there's going to be advance warning signing as well, like at the end of the street to, for anyone who's turning on to see that this is like a speed hump zone. I can get you answers to those things in the discussion summary. But all that being said, I don't see this plan that we've been looking at changing. So it'll be finalized once I get all the paperwork and everything ready. It'll be posted to the project website, and you'll also be mailed another packet that'll go out to all of the project area addresses, sent out June 26th is the date that I believe I have. That'll have your final poll. You'll have about a month to complete it. You can either fill it out and mail it back to me, or you'll be able to fill it out online. There will be a QR code for you to use. So as I mentioned before, the requirement for that final poll to be accepted is that of the people who participate, more than 50% have to support the final plan. And I know today that we go device by device. We have poll questions for each of the devices. The final poll will just have one question. It'll ask if you support the plan as a whole. So this was this was our last opportunity to really discuss and see if there are any changes that we want to see, just because that final plan is asking, do you support this as a whole. So the deadline will be July 29th. It'll take a week or so for me to get everything finalized and crunch all the numbers and get all the letters prepared to back to the city. But as long as we received the required support, more than 50%, the team will request support from the Transportation Commission, and then it'll be submitted to City Council for approval and for construction dates. So that depends on just whatever budgeting is available. I believe right now they're looking at the 25-26 budget. So that's July 2025 to June 2026, unless I've got June and July mixed up. But yeah, if this is approved by City Council, if it goes to City Council and is approved by them, it would not likely be in construction until 2025, potentially 2026. The dates on there, August, September, for those meetings, unfortunately they're vague. I know the agenda will change, so I don't have a concrete date. But the website will be updated. If you're on the email list, you'll get a notification that the results have been posted to the project website. If you're not on the email list and want to be notified, please reach out to me, or you can, use the Q&A now and add your email address. And I'll make sure that you're on that email. So yeah, that's it. This is my contact information. That's the project website. If anything comes to mind to you after today, or even after you get the final plan in the mail, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Oh, you're very welcome, Catherine. I really appreciate everyone's input and time. Especially after that first meeting, it was really productive, and it helped shape what we're seeing now. So again, I'll encourage you to make sure that you participate in the final poll. Just one last call to action to please be aware of our logo. The mailing comes out of our office in Taylor and will not have the city logo on the envelope, and try to mark it up as much as possible. I just want to bring it to everyone's attention so no one accidentally misses the mailing. But yeah, end of this month, final poll will go out. You'll have some time to either ask questions, reach out to me if you have questions, or go ahead and vote in the final poll. And then we'll be looking at early August probably is when the results will be posted and shared. I'll add that the results don't get mailed out to every address like they do with these other communications. We just post it to the project website, and if you're on the email list, we notify you that the results have been posted. So let me know if you want to be on the email list. Otherwise, you can check the website sometime in August and see what the results were. But I appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate your participation. I hope you have a great night. I'll stay online for another few minutes. I'm going to launch the demographic survey again. If you can fill this out quickly before you sign off. This is just something the city uses in all of their public meetings to help with outreach. It's anonymous. I don't even look at the results. I just send them back to the city. But yeah, I'll stay online for another few minutes and give people a chance to answer the survey. Or if you have any questions, you can ask away. But have a good night. If you are all set, you can go ahead and sign off, and I hope you have a great night. Thank you.